A big thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this week's video.
Morning everyone, fantastic to see you all again. So in this week's video I'm going to talk all about light. We're going to get back into the field at Arran soon, but I want to say something about the video before I start. So first of all, I just wanted to give you a few tips about shooting in sort of harsher conditions, harsher light. So I go out, we have a look at some photos that I shoot, then I come back to my studio here and I'm going to share some of the photos, and then we'll go out for a sunrise at the coast. So that's it, enough of me talking, on to the video. So I've just come down a really cool road. You've probably just seen that in the B-roll, but yeah, I am walking to a place called Glen Sannox, or Sannox, and I'm hoping to find some heather. To be honest, I'm not sure. I'll show you when I get a bit higher up. I'm not sure whether this is going to be a sunrise or a sunset shot, but oh my word, the mountains in the background look incredible. And cut to some B-roll. So I've just stopped here just to work out where the sun's going to go down, and just in a bit of video and a photo here as well, but you can see the mountains over there, and I've just got my phone and worked out where the sun's going to go down. I think it's going to go down over the top of that peak over there at maybe about 6:30. So I'm not going to get any really strong golden light here, but sunrise is over there, and it's going to cast light into the valley, but then it's going to be behind me. So it's a tricky location, this. I think it might work better, a little bit better in the winter, but obviously you don't get the heather then. Anyway, I'll keep going. When I'm shooting at sunrise and sunset, I'm not just looking for the golden light, that amazing light that you get that lights up the clouds and just looks fantastic, but it's the type of light you get. And I want to explain two things. So first of all, the contrast is reduced. So when the light gets lower and lower and lower, then you get a lot more reflected light into the shadows, and the highlights aren't as bright. So you get a lot less contrast between, as you can see here, a very shadowy and highlighty scene when we're nearly at midday, basically. And then the other one is, because you've got lower light, then you get in a lot better texture in the landscape. So it's casting a light that's more sort of, what's the word? It's more sort of acute across the landscape, and that raking light just brings out textures and things really well. So, you know, even a scene like this at sunset would look better, even if there was light on the trees, because you get less contrast, and that's something that's really important to think about. That doesn't mean though that you can't shoot great photos at midday, and hopefully as we get further I'll try and show you how I do that and how I deal with this harsh light. For this scene, by the way, I just wait until the light goes behind a cloud, because then you can get a good shot without these highlights and also annoying sort of patterns on the tree cast by the leaves. But I don't think we've got many clouds. So as I've just been walking down to the river here, I just spotted these trees in the shade. So they've got a lot of shade by all the leaves, but there's a view through to the mountain in the background, and the mountain's got some cloud around it, which I think is really nice, rather than just blue sky, because I think the blue would just be detract. But the really good thing is that there's no distractions in this foreground. There's not a lot anyway of light in this foreground, but the problem is that then you've got a massive dynamic range. So what I do here is I just bracket it and do, I only have to do one. I'm shooting at 24mm, so I don't have to focus stack it because there's nothing in the foreground. This is quite a long way away from the camera. So I focus in the mid-ground here, shoot at like f13, and then just bracket the exposure, and then you can just stack that in Lightroom, and I'll show you the photo now. But a good way of dealing with light is just trying to separate it like this, rather than I'm just got patches of light here. this is in shade, that's in sun, and the sun sort of draws you through the image. So this is a beautiful waterfall here, and the sun coming from behind is quite good because you get like nice backlit water, which is always good for a waterfall. You don't really want the sun coming from that direction, you want it from behind. So the waterfall would look good. You could do some close-ups of the waterfall, but I feel like the mountain in the background, the sun's not great because it's getting sort of quite harsh light and it's not raking across it enough to create any texture. And then the clouds above it are quite a big contrast as well. So nearly there, but yeah, not quite. Don't fall in. Let's keep going with a wet foot now. It's a really pretty path this by this river, but you can see here that the light's really hard because it's coming through the trees and creating all sorts of shadows. So I probably wouldn't try and shoot something like this. I'd want this more in the shade or rain or something like that. I'm going to keep going because I've seen a lot of heather on the other side. There's not much on this side. And on the satellite image that I've looked at, it looks like I can cross higher up. So I'm going to keep going, see what I can find. So as you can see, it's pretty sunny here, but I found a nice little shot actually. The sun just went in, I wasn't quick enough to get a shot, but I've got the mountain sort of up there somewhere you can probably see. And I'll show you on here anyway, probably the best bet. So yeah, I've got the mountain here, the trees sort of going round it, and then the stream and the grass at the bottom. There's not a lot of distracting sort of light areas on the grass, so I think that's nice. You get to the stream and then you jump through to the mountain because that's the brightest area. Again, I'm using light to sort of transition the viewer through the scene. A top tip as well is, a shot like this, just take it with your iPhone, because your iPhone automatically edits it. So I took, I'll show you the iPhone shot. I took this shot here with the iPhone, and it's really good. It looks really good. I think it really works. And there's a lot of midges. The sun just went in and this tree was in the shade and there's a nice shot through there, so I quickly took a shot. I'm going to take another shot with the tree in the sun, and just show you the difference. I feel like the one in the shade should be a little bit better. I might be wrong, but we'll compare the two and see what you like. The point is, it's just understanding the difference between the two and whether you think the light's adding something or taking something away from the photo. I've just walked past the other side of this, proves you should look around, and there's a really nice shot back into these mountains. Typically, the light's not playing ball at the moment. I want light on the mountains in the background, but probably not on here, because I want this to be, I think I'm getting enough reflected light on the side of the trees, because the reflected light is something to think about. So reflected light is, or diffuse light through the clouds, and the silver birch are really light, but the background mountains are quite dark. So either I need a lot of light on the foreground or a lot of light on the background. At the moment I've got nothing. So I'm just going to wait. And I'm going to do this vertically, I think, not horizontally. Whew. So I've just crossed over the stream here, and I still haven't got any light in the mountains in the background. I don't know why, but I think the clouds are coming over the mountains and collecting, and they're just not providing enough light for the mountains, but the sun's just getting through onto the foreground, which is good. I can show you, these ferns and everything look great. I'm not sure about the river. I think that might be a bit distracting, but I'd love to be able to have a little bit of light on the mountain just to connect the foreground and the background, because at the moment I feel like it's two separate images, almost like the background mountains and the foreground. However, when I edit it, you never know, I might be able to pull something out. And you can see now the light's dropping, the sun's going in, and it's sort of, everything's blended together a little bit more. So I'll take one again in the shade. It's the sort of thing you've got to think about when you're out in the middle of the day like this. Oh, it's raining over there. I mean, I've just shot a shot in that direction as well, just using the layers, and I'll show you now that and this. It's just spectacular whenever you're here. So the plan is that I'm going to give a view of how I go about something like this in the middle of the day, like I just did down there, and talk a little bit more about some of the shots as I walk up here. And then I'm going to go back to the studio and just give you some more tips. So wait till the end of the video. I'm going to try and give some really good advice for different lighting conditions as well. I may also then come back out and shoot at sunset, but I'm not 100% sure yet where I'm going to be and whether it's going to work for this shot. Actually, you can see this tree here. It was at the beginning of the video that I started, it was in the sun, and now it's in the shade. And you know, you just get that separation when it's one or the other. So if the tree's in the sun and the background's in the shade, or the tree's in the shade and the background's in the sun. All good things to think about, but we also need to think about direction of light as well. So I hope you enjoyed that. It was pretty good just exploring in that light, and I think I got some half decent shots. They weren't amazing, let's face it, but I always find it useful to go out and just try and experiment in different lights, see what it's like when the light goes behind a cloud, or you know, is it better to have some harsher light or not, you know, some shadow light. So I wanted to go through some examples. So first of all, this was taken a few weeks ago. I was actually with Jack Lodge photographing in the Peak District, and I think this works quite well. It was taken around about 7 o'clock, so it's probably, I think it was about 2 and a bit hours before sunset. And we got a little low light, but it's still quite harsh. But I really like this shadow line that goes up here, so this sort of line here, and the way that we've got sort of light and dark in this foreground, but it sort of leads your eye through, and then we've got some nice light on there. There's nothing too distracting, it's quite simple in the foreground. Light in that works really well. Same in this shot here from Luscantire. I think that the play of light and shade in the foreground really is what makes this foreground. If it had had light that was directly behind me and a little bit higher, I don't think it would have worked, but this is sort of raking across from slightly in front of me. So I think that worked pretty well as well. And again, this was midday, well, it wasn't, it was 3 o'clock, but it's harsh light. And it works really well because it's the shadows and the on all these textured sands that makes it look so good. So you know, you can use light and shade really well, and sort of my advice is just go and check it out. So go and just go with your phone and just to go and explore light, and it'll really help you. Sometimes though you don't want the harsh light, so this was it's not the same foreground, but this was with some warm light on, but this was where there was no light on the foreground. There was still some frost on this foreground, and this works really well because I feel like this draws your eye into the image, to this warmer area of the image here. I think if I'd have waited and had sunlight on these rocks, then I think it had looked probably a little bit flat, the image. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. This is a really good example of something was shot. Again, this was 10:30 in the morning. I was with Mass actually in Wales. So this is a shot where the trees have got sun on it and the background's got a little bit of sun, a little bit of shade on it. But I'm looking at these trees here. But if you look at this shot where they're in shade now, it works so much better. You know, and it was literally, that was 10:29, that was 10:31. You know, there's just waiting for a cloud to go over. It makes such a big difference. This was a little bit earlier when I was with Mass to try and take a portrait of Mass. Again, having that raking light that I was talking about, where you know, the light, if the light was behind me, all this would be flat and it wouldn't look great, but having it just slightly in front and side light looks so good in this case. Again, with this one, I've got this, using the light to sort of create this line through the image here. So you can use light so powerfully in the middle of the day, or you know, certainly not at sunrise and sunset. And it's well worth thinking about. Go and check it out, go and try different things, experiment. Sometimes you need shade, sometimes you don't. But it's just about experimenting and just having fun, really. Before I get on to show you the sunrise that I had there, there's just a few minutes at the end of the video which was really exciting. I shot this lighthouse. I just want to say thanks to this week's sponsor, and that is Squarespace. Squarespace have been fantastic to my channel. They've really helped, but more importantly, and as not just as a sponsor, but as a fantastic platform for building my website. So I use Squarespace for my website, not just the e-commerce for selling books like Luscantire and Seascapes, still copies of these available by the way, but also for showing my photos and building a gallery. I have control of it. I don't have to have any compression that you put on Instagram and Facebook and things like that. So you can see here, I added a gallery for Luscantire, and you can go and have a look at my Luscantire images. It looks fantastic. It was super easy to do. You can scroll through them. There's loads of different templates to use for this as well. And if you want to get 10% off, then you can use offer code Nigel or go to Squarespace/Nigel. Right, let's go to that morning, that lighthouse, some drone shots, and some reasonably nice light. Well, I should say good morning everybody again, but it's the next morning now, and I'm down here by the beach and shooting some seascapes, which is, I haven't done this at all, I just shot mountains up to now, but yeah, this is a completely different use of light than we were doing in the middle of the day. The light is coming from over here. I'm shooting in this direction. The light's coming from the left hand side from over here. And it's good. I've got here about 20 minutes before sunrise. It's good because there's no light at the moment on the foreground, so it's quite soft lighting. But then when the sun comes up, if it gets above this cloud, which is looking unlikely at the moment, then I'll get some nice raking light across this foreground. It might be about probably 15 minutes after sunrise, and then I'll get really nice light, and I'll show you that, and then we'll go back to the studio. But I've got some nice clouds, so I'm hoping that they're going to light up, but doubtful.
We may have it all, up the ladder, down the road, different mysteries, full life mixed with tears. We are happy most of the time.
The sun's just come above the cloud now. I actually threw my drone. You've probably seen some B-roll either now or in a minute, but we're just about to get some side light on this rock here. I've struggled a little bit. I've got a really precarious tripod position, and yeah, I mean, I think there's probably too much rock here, so I might finagle it a little bit. And then I've got the place here where you get all the curling stones from, this island here, and then we've got a lighthouse here. The clouds aren't amazing at the moment. The best light, there wasn't light on the land because it just got blocked by a cloud over there, and then the headland over there as well. Oh, this is amazing though. So amazing. Almost, it doesn't get better than this, but light wasn't quite right, so afraid he doesn't get it. Sorry, morning on Aaron. Right, better get this photo.
When I'm covered in tears, you scare away them fears. Together we know how to be more than our vows. We are happy most of the time, and we get along.
I'm back again. Okay, we've finally got the light, and a bit of a better composition here as well, I think, after finagling it a little bit. So yeah, pleased with this, and here are the results.
Left and right we braid, through the ups and downs we sway. It's